This is a test of the boundary part alert system. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Boundary Park Alert System with me, Matt Dean. It's the first episode of 2021 and I'd like to start by thanking everyone who has listened to and supported the podcast in 2020. I really appreciate it and I wish you all the best for 2021, whatever it has in store. I'm going to aim to bring you even more from the podcast this year as we aim to be the Oldham fans podcast that deals directly with the real issues facing the club and seeks out the solutions to bring change. Last year, I worked closely with fan group Push the Boundary, interviewed club CEO Carl Evans and the chair and vice chair of Trust Oldham, and I aim to continue to bring you all the news as it happens both on and off the pitch throughout 2021. I would love your involvement more than ever. This is the Fans Podcast, your podcast, and if you'd like to help out or contribute in any way, I'd love to hear from you. All the contact details are in the show notes and in the credits at the end of the show, so do get in touch with your ideas, your feedback, your thoughts and your suggestions. Okay, on with this week's podcast. Welcome back, lads. Happy New Year. I've got Danny, Taylor, Will Goff and Gazapalooza. How are you doing, lads?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Good stuff.
Yeah, all good, thanks. You?
Yeah, good, yeah. Absolutely buzzing off the back of what was a sporting spectacle down at the new lawn today.
Couldn't see much, could you?
It was mad, wasn't it? I had no idea that there was any snow or there was an issue until I'd paid for my iFollow. Stuck it on and there was snow on the pitch. Then the issue to me early on was the fact that these EFL balls are like pale yellow, so you couldn't see the ball. So I thought, well, that's great. But then it just got progressively worse with the fog, didn't it? And it was just wasn't worth watching. Basically, from kickoff, it wasn't worth watching, was it?
That ball was so difficult to see.
Definitely,
Really
I don't see in this day and age why they can't still have the old orange. Well, obviously not the old ones, but an orange football that clearly visible in snow.
It's mad. I think what they should do when it's snowing is they should just go full retro and just bring back like a really old orange leather ball just to make it really difficult and really old fashioned. You know, instead of all this free flowing attacking football we get on good pitches nowadays. If it snows, it's 1960. That should be the rule. But I mean, yeah, it was a crappy spectacle. We were getting murdered and all, weren't we, first half? Somehow we went in 1-1 and then it predictably got called off. So I think really it was going to form, I think, really, wasn't it? Because, like, you know, since I've not done a podcast since before Christmas, we've had the Harrogate game and the Grimsby game, both of which were pretty dire as spectacles. I think we were hammered by Harrogate. I thought they were far better than us. Grimsby, we kind of lowered ourselves to their level, kept a clean sheet, but that's because they didn't look like scoring.
I tweeted earlier in the week after the Grimsby game. I was like, great to get the first clean sheet of the season. I mean, you can only play against what's in front of you, but I'd have been confident that like the under-12s at Latics had got a clean sheet with the amount of goal threat or attacking intent that Grimsby showed all night.
They were terrible.
I mean, in fairness, we've not had to put up with a 0-0 all season until, I don't know when the last time that was, that we've not had to put up with a 0-0 until just before Christmas, just after Christmas. So it's unusual, isn't it, because that was kind of standard fare, I think, for a long time, wasn't it, at Latics, a 0-0 like that. You know, there was plenty of them.
If you look at the reactions to everyone after Grimsby, though, it was an absolute piss boil meltdown over a 0-0, and all everyone had done is wins. They wanted a clean sheet for how long? We've got one. You know, we've not had one all year. So poor as Grimsby were, to get a clean sheet, we had to really put the brakes on. So it was dull. It was boring. You can argue it's 2 points dropped, or is it a point gained on the road in a clean sheet? But it's just the life of a Latics fan, that balanced perspective, honestly, and there's just none there. It was infuriating after the Grimsby game. All everyone was doing was whinging. We need to stop conceding goals. Well, we have to go right back to broke then, don't we? Let's get a clean sheet and accept that you might get a few dour games. I've said it a few weeks ago. I would rather have 3-4s, 4-2s, 3-alls than 0-0s and 1-1s. That's what this team gives you. We can't defend. We shouldn't try to.
I'm not personally, guys. I'm not convinced that we did set out to defend. I think it just ended up being the case that we didn't show enough in the final third, and that was potentially because of missing your McElhaney's, your Danny Rowe. Dearnley's not long since been back from injury, and then obviously seeing Junior Luamba in the team, he did okay as debuts go. He didn't get much of the ball, he didn't see much of the game, but he did all right.
Well, we have 12 shots.
I was texting you guys today during the game, and we were discussing about, Forest Green were in complete control of the game, and we were not at it at all. It seems like everything has to be perfect for us to get the result, like in terms of how they set up, how they play, and like against Grimsby, the frustrating thing is that they didn't have an attacking threat as such going forward. So, but we couldn't turn it on and go through the gears and get a goal, because we scored one, we'd have won that game. So it was that was where the frustration kicked in. I think it just seems like unless everything is absolutely perfect in our favour, we can't get a result, which is why we're struggling at home, and which is why today would have, I think, and if the conditions had been good, I think we would have got beat today.
That's where the frustration comes in, though, isn't it? I mean, ordinarily a point at Grimsby, whether it be 0-0, 2-2, 1-1, regardless, isn't a bad point in itself. That said, though, when you take into consideration the home form, and we barely pick up any points at home, it puts so much pressure on the away form that you kind of need to go to places like Grimsby and nick a 1-0 if you're going to keep a clean sheet, or beat them 3-2 or 2-1 and get the 3 points there. That's where the frustration part comes in. And obviously sitting where we are now, you've got 7 points off the top 7, play the team in 7th position, and then 7 points off 23rd, which, again, it could go either way. If you sort your own form out and your away form stays as it is, then you're on to a winner. You're in looking towards the top 7. If the away form, it's a buffer and you can't sort anything out at home, you look all of a sudden looking over your shoulder. So it could go either way, really, couldn't it?
I think if the 0-0 at Grimsby comes off the back of the 4-2 against Newport, it's all right. It comes off the back of losing at home to Harrogate, it's crap. And that's the way it is, isn't it? And you're right, Gaz. Like, we win a game at Newport, playoffs, then we draw or we lose. Oh, we're going to get relegated. That's the way it is with Latics fans. That says on Twitter anyway. Like, it is a bit extreme, and it does. I did notice that you were getting a bit like that about it, which I kind of wanted you on, because I thought you might have something to say about that.
It's just the balanced perspective of it all. I mean, we know we can't keep shipping 2-3 goals a game. We know that, because we're not always going to score 4 or 3 ourselves. But, it was back to the very basics, wasn't it? Grimsby were poor, they didn't offer nothing. But, if we would have gone a bit more full throttle and then got done on the counter and they would have scored, we lose 1-0 and it's go away and try and keep a clean sheet. You had one at 80 minutes and then you end up losing 1-0. So I think the last 3 games stink a little bit of the first 7-8 games of the season, don't they? Especially with the performances.
Danny, have you got any theories on why the performances might have dipped over the last few games? I don't know. Have you any thoughts on that?
I know we spoke before, Matt, wasn't it? Just before we came on. So,
any characters around the club again that might?
Yeah, well, I believe that Mo Lemsingham's returned before the Harrogate game. Not mentioning that that's a complete coincidence or not, but.
No, it's nice to stir the pot a little bit, though, isn't it? I mean, we've given him credit in recent weeks, so we need to balance that out again by giving him a bit of stick again.
I think going back to the clean sheet stuff at Grimsby, you're saying about balance with Latics fans. I think we're still struggling with that balance with the team as well. I mean, it's not necessarily needing a clean sheet in every game, but if we tighten up a bit at the back. We're turning no points into 1 point. We're turning 1 point into 3 points, and that's how we're going to get out the division as it stands. We're just going to end up mid-table again.
It is like it's about these tweaks and these little details that our away form being what it is. If we'd have managed what you just said then, Will, at home, then we'd be in contention, wouldn't we? If we had the nous to be able to do it, but we haven't got the nous, have we, on the pitch? And Harry's changing the team again a lot. I mean, I tweeted on against Grimsby that somehow he managed to make the midfield even more or even less effective than it was before, because he changed it around again, and he's still not got it sussed, has he? He's not got it sussed at home. He's not like I said, maybe for whatever reason away from home's been working, but is it more good luck than good management?
I think with him, his best players aren't always available. So when his best players come back from injury, etc., and they start getting a bit more fit and run off their knocks, then he wants to bring them back in. I think that's the thing with him.
Can't argue with that, can you? I mean, that makes sense.
I think he's mindful of fitness, the amount of games in short succession. I think a lot of clubs are rotating, like Will says as well. When you get injuries, you're forced into it, aren't you? To me, we've got a mid-table squad. We're not going to go into the playoffs with fullbacks like Barnett and Vage. And if we do, we'll get shown up for it unless we have that good luck, like you said, perhaps, Matt. The squad is what it is. It's going to need improving over the next 4 weeks as well, isn't it? Before it does, as Danny said, potentially go the other way and turn into a massive piss boil for the end of the rest of the season.
Or we get lucky with some of the injuries and some of the fitness because we did, up front we got some of we got goals coming from all over the place. Whereas, seasons gone by, you got your striker struggling to hit double figures. Yet this season we've got them all over the pitch. So if you keep everyone fit and on fire, then it's going to work. But it's a bit of luck and it's a bit of managing that fitness. I
mean, we were having a bit of a dig at Moore there, saying that him coming back has affected the performances on the pitch. But I think the real reason that Moore's back is presumably is to do some business now, isn't it, with the transfer window open?
Obviously, you've got a couple of like Jordan Barnett's deal runs out fairly soon, I believe. I think he only got a contract till January, and then Harry Clarke's loan is due to expire. I presume that'll be extended.
What about Alfie McCalmont? Is his January as well?
I'm not
sure. But yeah, there's all these little things that need to be addressed, isn't there? And who's going and who's staying, and presumably Moore's been working on recruitment over the last few months, and he's got a few players lined up. So he
needs to get a centre midfielder. To say we've got a midfield of like scrappers, we pick up very few second balls, and we need someone in there. We desperately need someone in there.
Need someone who can control the game from the centre of the park.
Yeah. We're desperate.
Don't have it.
And we need some more solidity at fullback, don't we? No, we need some. I think a right back definitely would be.
I think it's the fullbacks he rotates mostly, isn't it? I mean, just going on to today, I'm convinced we turned up expecting it to be called off. Commentary from Forest Green were referring to Ian Lawler having a right tantrum that the game was on, and you could see that in us in the first 45 minutes. We didn't expect it to be on. There was mistakes all over the park. Pidge nearly gave a penalty away. He was jumping all over people's backs. Fage then gets caught out. Lawler should have saved it. That first half, it's the worst I've seen. We just didn't look like we were prepared to be there.
No, you're right. You're right. They didn't look ready, did they?
Like
we were late out as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
I was about to say, Kaz, they sent the linesman down the concourse area, didn't they, to get us to merge, really?
I'm convinced we were ready for going home. Lawler's had this tantrum. We weren't ready for it. Forest Green and they must have got wind of that, and they went at us, didn't they? It didn't matter what the conditions were. They went at us, and we were, how we got in at 1-1, I'll never know.
No,
and I don't know because I didn't see the goal either, like no one else did. But it was a steal. It's the worst I've seen us all season. That first 45 minutes, I thought it was shocking. And when I did see the conditions, straight away I thought Bahambula, Fage, get the French lads. No, not today. It's got to be Hamer. It's going to have to be Keeler Dunn, the lads who are used to this, this temperature and kind of weather, to give us any chance. I knew that, and obviously we said, Matt, didn't we, when we were texting him, as soon as Bahambula got the ball, there were 2 or 3 on him every time he got it.
We don't like being pressed, do we? And pressured. Like Fage today, like the goal that he gave away, he's just not got the presence of mind to know what to do in that situation. And you put pressure on him like that, and he nicked it off him.
He's not a right back.
He's out of his depth in it, but he's the only bit of pace we've got, and I'm convinced that's the only reason why he gets in.
Yeah,
it's a shame going forward. I think that Fage and Bahambula have got potential link up. They seem to have, they seem to enjoy playing together. And if we could play both of them down the right hand side somehow without Fage being at right back, but again, that doesn't really work, does it? So
no, I mean, with Hamer had a bit of a shite start to the season, but I'd still be playing him ahead of Fage at right back now.
Yeah, well, he's not a right back, is he? So we know
he's had some all right games though, and when we were on that run of winning games, him and Bahambula were causing problems down the right, and he was getting forward well, like you say. For me, just on conditions alone today, though, I'd have left the French lads out. Yeah.
You could see Bahambula that wasn't fancying it. Obviously got subbed at half time.
But how do you play if you're him on a pitch like that? That just does not suit his style, does it? He needs the ball at his feet, and he needs to. It just doesn't work for him, does it? In those conditions, in fairness to him, he can't run with the ball too well. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some of the Forest Green lads seem to be able to do it in the first half. But it is what it is. The game was called off. We get another go at it. And
is it definitely rearranged? Then it's not settled as it is.
I don't think so. No, I think it was abandoned short of an hour, wasn't it? 2 minutes short of an hour.
Yeah.
So,
rather ironically, it was abandoned after a woeful Jordan Barnett pass that went out of play. And you think he's not. The referees called it off on the basis, obviously, not just on the basis of that pass, but he's probably seen that pass go way over everyone's head out for a throw and thinks, oh well, he can't see the player on the far side either. When in essence, it was just a shocking pass.
No, I mean, it's surprised we weren't just all running around for 5 minutes, not knowing that the ball had gone out of play, to be honest. They
might as well have done.
Exactly.
You couldn't see anything.
No, you couldn't see anything, could you?
What are the rules about replays and stuff? Is it 70 minutes? 70 minutes or less, then it's a replay, and 70 minutes and over, it's result stands.
I think so, yeah, something like that. Yeah, we didn't reach that threshold anyway, whatever it is. It was amusing with the commentary. I don't know if you were listening to Roy and his phone. That was quite good fun, wasn't it? People were phoning him, but he couldn't get to his phone in time. I don't know where he'd left his phone. I was get away. It was funny.
I was listening to the away commentary for a bit of a change and listening to what they were saying, and you could hear his phone ringing on there.
Yeah, I was on the away commentary too.
No, I did switch over after a while because I thought, I wonder how these lads are coping with it. But I think it was a BBC radio broadcast that they had on as well, terrible. So it was a slightly higher standard of commentary, in fairness. But so listen, it seems to me that the last few weeks we've been sitting in 14th, and I was going to ask you about predictions for the season. Now we're at the midway point and we're into 2021. I'll kick us off. My prediction is 14th. I don't think we're going to move all season. I think we're going to stay exactly where we are. I think 14th is the new 17th. Hopefully not too much longer going forward. But I don't think we're going to. I've let myself get carried away a couple of times on the podcast when we were having some good results and stuff. But I think we're mid-table. I don't know if it'll be 14th, but I think we'll finish somewhere in and around there, maybe 12th, 14th, something like that. I'd like us to finish a bit higher, but we're just too inconsistent. So what do y'all think? Danny, what do you think?
A lot depends on January for me. I mean, there's players in there that we certainly need to keep hold of this in January, as in Bahambulas, whether anyone will take a gamble on him or not. Conor McElhaney, whether any League One teams might have a look to see if they can get him on a minimal fee before he's out of contract at the end of the season. I think we'll finish slightly lower than 14. I think we'll finish about 16, personally. Just
on that, before we move on to Will, just in terms of buying players and contracts and stuff like that, with the way that the season is, there's still a chance that this season won't finish with what's happening with coronavirus and whatnot. So teams taking a gamble on signing new players and giving them decent contracts and stuff, they might be wary. It might be difficult to do business this season, especially if you're wanting to tempt people away from other clubs and give them more money. There might be a bit of a concern that it's going to cost them too much.
The only thing on the flip side of that is if there's any minimal fee offers and stuff like that, whether clubs are desperate for cash that they just go, yeah, go on then.
The one thing about that is I'm not sure about the conditions for the that EFL bailout. I'm sure there's something in there about paying any transfer fees.
Of course,
if you received the money.
If that's the case, then McElhaney will be there.
So I'm going 14th. Danny's going 16th. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, it depends on fitness, whether we hold on to players. I'm with you, I think, Matt. I think 14th, maybe up a few positions. Again, same as Danny, depends on January signings. But one of the other things to think about is the Brexit impact of signing players. So the usual French lads might not be able to sign them, apart from the ones that may already be in the country already, that have been training with us already. If we don't make any signings, if we stay as we are and we don't lose anyone, then potential to go up a few places.
Gaz, what do you think, mate?
Tough one, isn't it? I never let myself get carried away a few weeks ago, although secretly I was kind of saying to my missus, watch us get to Wembley when we're not allowed to go. So there must have been, a subconscious thought of us doing all right. I've got a feeling someone might take a gamble on Bahamboula, especially if we all keep tweeting how fantastic he is. So I think we need to change our tune there on him. Even Grimsby were saying how great he will, weren't they? But,
unfortunately, guys, we can't do anything about his stats and his assists. Like they exist, and that's a problem. But
so he's eye-catching, isn't he? So I think if anyone goes or when we get any money, it could possibly be him. I know we've said about centre midfield, centre half. I'm not entirely convinced with Pidgey. Every single one of our defenders has made mistakes this season, some more than others. If we don't keep Clark, I think we're looking further towards the bottom than further towards the top half. Diarra's meant to be a right back by trade, isn't he? Let's see him there. Let's see what he looks like. All saying that, I don't mind John Batty at right back. Rather not see him back in the middle. But I'll go out on the limb and say we'll keep people fit and we'll do 12th.
Yeah, 12th's been the top finish from our prediction. Between 12th and 16th. It's funny because that would be, looking at it, you would think, well, that's been a pretty dull season. But if the next half of the season is like it has been the first half of the season, it's been all right. It's been one of the more entertaining seasons that we've had for a while. So I think that's where some of the optimism comes from. We've had some terrible performances, but we've had some really good performances. We've had some great goals, and it's been exciting at times. So I think there is that feeling that there is potential within this squad. So, it's all very up in the air, innit? It's all so many what ifs. We're talking next week. It could be completely different situation by next week. Speaking of next week, I'm really looking forward to the Bournemouth game because I've got a feeling it could be 4-4 or something at this game. It could be. It's going to be one of them. We're either going to get absolutely battered, or it's going to be like a really. I think it depends how Bournemouth. If they bring their first team or if they bring their reserves out,
I was about to interject there, Matt, and say that I think Bournemouth will basically sack the FA Cup off. I think they'll
reserves, yeah.
Quite a lot of changes, and where they make changes, you've got an opportunity, haven't you, to potentially take the game to them. I mean, whatever 11 they put out should be, in their opinion, should be good enough to see a League Two.
Definitely. Basically a Premier League squad, isn't it? So
we're at home though, aren't we? So we've got no chance.
But we do have the magic of the FA Cups, sprinkling over us, don't we? So, and again, that's whether the game goes ahead because it's Boundary Park in January. Anything could happen with weather, so well.
And to be fair, it's a complete free hit, isn't it? No one's expecting anything. Just go at them and see what you can do.
Yeah, it's just the financials, isn't it? It's all about, for the club's point of view, they win against Bournemouth, getting the fourth round draw, massive.
Has it been picked for anything, like the iPlayer streaming or?
They're all on BT.
Oh, are they?
Well, they're all on TV, but yeah, they're on BT. It's on a BT.
BT6, I think.
Yeah, BT6 extra. So goals.
We might have a few new signings in for next week as well. Likely with Mo being back, there's obviously something going on, isn't there?
I mean, going back to touching on the Forest Green game, at half time, Danny Rowe had to come on just to take a shot from anywhere because the keeper clearly couldn't see much.
Exactly, yeah.
Obviously, it didn't get that far anyway, did it?
I suppose on the flip side, someone's just coming back from injury. Stick them on a snowy pitch and the fog's probably a bit of a risk in it. So when there's a good chance he's going to get called off. But yeah, I mean, it's great to have him back. I think we've definitely missed him. Our options, we don't seem to have too many options or different styles of play or plans A, Bs or whatever, but Rowe is that one player that helps us change the way we play.
He'll drop deep and get his foot on the ball, won't
exactly. He? And that's and having them all fit, I've been thinking about this. Having them all fit, I hate McElhaney being out on the left. McElhaney needs to be just down the middle as our striker. I'd play Durnley out on the left, Bahamboula on the right, and I'd put Danny Rowe in behind him. And that would be, I'd have that formation, and then you can put in your McAlmont and Tembwe or whatever behind. It doesn't really matter out of the other lads at the minute, does it? Because they all, you know what I mean. But that's what I'd go for. I'd just get all our best players on the pitch. Just let Danny Rowe come deep. Let him link up the wide lads and play McElhaney in and pop shots off of the edge of the area. You've got to get them all on.
Did anyone see someone tweeted Dino Marmari a few weeks ago, the real one, and asked about Danny Rowe? And they said, what do you think's his best position? And he said, for Danny Rowe, you've got to give him a free role. and I'm led to believe at Fildy, that's what he just used to go from box to box down the never moved out the centre of the pitch, but was box to box kind of thing. And I think that's what we're kind of missing, someone who can, in both ends of the pitch, get the foot on the ball. He's definitely not, because of his size, he gets mistaken for a target man, but for me, that's not his game. I could be way off, but that's just my opinion. I don't think that's his game at all.
The problem we have is when he plays up on his own, up top, and he's doing box to box, and then when he's dropping deep for the ball, there's no one out, no outlet.
No, he needs to play behind McElhaney, Durley, and Bahambula out wide of him, and then we've got a really strong front four then, and then everybody else can play behind. What I love about Danny Rowe is he looks like a World War I Tommy. Do you know what I mean? He looks like, if you can imagine what they all look like. He looks like really old fashioned English kind of bloke. Kind of one of those lads you'd have beside you in the trenches, kind of thing. And we're going to need that towards the end of the season. So I like Danny Rowe. I think he's a good footballer.
On transfers and moving in and out, do you think I think you said Barnett's on a short deal, and what about Whelan? Because he's not really contributing anything to this squad at all now, is he?
I mean, I think Whelan was one of the few that got 2-year contracts at the start, along with George Blackwood, who seemingly now gone missing. So what happens? I presume they may well look to get a couple out, to get a couple in.
I think with Whelan, what we're looking at with Whelan is if you get somebody decent in midfield and put Whelan next to him, then he might be all right. He's not next to Garrity and McCalmont. Not ready yet, so I think Whelan's got potential because he's good on the ball, but he just needs somebody more commanding around him to.
I think that goes for most of our midfielders, to be honest. Not necessarily in Twambwe, but certainly McCalmont and potentially Garrity as well. That just get an older head alongside him that knows exactly what they're doing and marshals the place, and then let them go and play. Really, I mean, McCalmont out of the three is probably the best footballer that we've got out of the three of them, but
he's inconsistent, isn't he? He's not consistent enough, and he's young, and
we're not seeing him in the game, even though they're in the middle of the park. They're not involved, and they're always a yard behind every second ball. There's no real nous.
But that's organisation and communication. That's where you need that older head in midfield to give everybody the discipline and say, "This is where you need to be." Somebody needs to. Often in good teams, like you've got good players, they've got good ability, they've got good talent, but they've not got the brain yet. And so you need one or two players on the pitch to do the thinking for them, and there isn't that at the minute.
A lot of the time as well, but when they do have the ball, is that they're always looking for the Hollywood bowl. And at this level, you need to cut that out. Okay, a few times a match maybe, but not always. Just look for the simple stuff and play it well. And they probably just need someone next to them just to bring him down a bit and bring that out of their game.
Matt, just back on what you asked us about predictions, when I was listening to Will and Danny, I had something in my head I was going to mention and I forgot, but what do you guys think? Is Wheater staying or is he going in January?
Well, presumably he's going, because what's the point in having him at the club? I mean, surely this fiasco is got to be over in January. Otherwise, it just becomes an even bigger fiasco. I mean,
that's it. I mean, he's never going to play for us again, so he needs to be paid up and shipped out, or they need to find someone that will take him on.
It certainly needs to come to an end. I mean, regardless of how it turns out. I mean, if he's not going to play for us again, then absolutely fine, no problem. But
can't imagine there's no one that wants to take him. There must be, surely.
Might be his wage. His wage might put people off.
I mean, I can't imagine that he's happy just sitting there not playing either. I mean, I know he's not old, he's 32, but his time in the game's running out and he wants to be playing, doesn't he? So unless, I don't know, can the club be so spiteful that they will just leave him there like that and not, because if he stays now, then that's the way that I think a lot of fans are going to perceive it. It's just out of spite. Yeah. Because we have to do what's best for him is that he's playing football, and if it's not going to be at Oldham, he needs to be let go on to play somewhere else.
I think it would be the best for all parties, really, wouldn't it? It'd be the end of this saga. That is he fit? Is he not going to play? Has he been injured picking up his dog? The rest of it, and then you could even use that money that you've got invested in David Wheater to reinvest in 2 or 3 other players potentially.
If Dylan Fage a pay rise, isn't it?
What's happened to that other lad, the Italian?
Badan. I think he's
He went
injured,
off
isn't
at Colchester, but it didn't seem that bad of an injury. But seemingly he's not been back since.
He did look like a raffle winner. He really did. I mean, I know we've just very quickly back on today. We're saying we're all. I thought like today, and Tambwe was really, really poor, but he gives you something physical. So he has to play for me, especially in the middle. I mean, on the ball, he's a lot to be desired. But we lack physicality and we lack pace, and that's why Fage and Tambwe to me are in there. We know these better players, and they're not up to it. But when you know.
Yeah, but it's balance, isn't it? It's balance. If you're going to put in Tambwe, he needs to have someone who can play a bit with him.
See, for me, Tambwe is an away player. You know, someone that you need away from home, give you a bit more extra in defence that can break up the play a bit. And I think it probably doesn't suit very well playing at home. And I know it's the same game and everything, and you should be playing the same way most of the time. But I think being that defensive minded at home. It's probably not done as so well, but away from home it does well.
Yeah, I mean, there is the school of thought that at this level of football, we don't need to be worrying about having dedicated defensive midfielders, isn't there? And, we should just be going forward. And I think you've just got to get the balance. I mean, all midfielders have to be defensive midfielders at some point. You can't just be bombing up the pitch and not getting back. That's part of your job. And there's been times this season when the lads have been, the midfielders have been really good defending the edge of the box. All of them has been team efforts where they've been throwing themselves in front of everything, and they've helped us defend a win. But yeah, look, it's up to Kuhl and more now, and we'll see what happens. I don't think any of us are expecting us to mount a playoff push. We've done our predictions. Between 12th and 16th is where we think we'll finish. So I think that's probably fair. And if everything goes quite well between now and the end of the season in terms of keeping older players and recruitment, then maybe next season will be heading that way. I think we'd have
a real chance, if we can keep the core of the squad together. I think we'll have a real chance next year.
I think that's imperative, isn't it? I mean, like you said, that we should be planning during this transfer window. We should be planning beyond this transfer window to get to the end of the season. You've got to be looking at next season and the players that are out of contract. I mean, I think, to my knowledge, Durnley's out of contract, Rowe's out of contract, McLean's out of contract. And to me, there's got to be discussions are already taking place going, look, what could we do for you for next season, really, and see whether they look to extend the deal beyond, obviously, the end of June.
There's stuff in our favour there as well. If you think, we've given them a chance. So McLean was unattached in the summer. Durnley, released from United and went playing for
New
Mills. But also the fact that they're quite injury prone. So some clubs are probably not willing to take a chance on signing them for them just to be injured. So I mean that plays in our favour. I mean it's not great because if they do get injured, then we're stuck with them. But I agree we should be looking at extending them.
It's about statements of intent now, isn't it, from the club to get out there and say, signing Danny Rose on a new 2-year contract, whatever, signing McElhaney signed up for. These are big things. Then straight away, there's not going to be speculation until the end of January. Is he staying? Is he going? Start getting the rumour mills knocking around. Doncaster is sniffing around McElhaney and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, we don't want that. We want signed up. Such and such, his contract is finished, Barnett, whatever, he's gone, right, okay, who's going to come in? And they need to make these statements of intent that Kuhl is keeping his players. And Kuhl's coming out and saying, I've kept such and such in my squad, he's going to be pivotal next season for what we're building. It's all that kind of communication. Give us something to...
It stops the massive overhaul every single summer then, though, doesn't it? I mean, if you go into the summer with, say, 12 or 13 players there, then you're not chopping and changing too much. I mean, when Kuhl came in, we had, I think he said 8 players, was it? In past previous seasons gone by, we've turned up. I mean, when going back to the Robinson season, he came in and he had 4 players.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Kuhl's made quite a lot of it over the previous months of it takes 3 years to build a team and get the club moving in the right direction. And you think, right, all right, that's fine. If people are going to be willing to give him time, not a problem. But then you've got to have the tools for him to do that with, and the tools are your main players being signed up beyond the next 6 months, really.
I think, Kuhl's going to be here at the end of the year. That there doesn't seem to be any indication that he's not. So
even more reason to get players signed down.
Exactly.
Then.
Yeah.
I would prioritise that over bringing people in in January. I don't think we're going to go down, even if we really struggle to pick up points. I think there's a couple of teams in worse states than us. We'd have to have a real shit show in the second half of the season, wouldn't we? So I would prioritise that before bringing people in, especially if we think Kuhl's going to be here. It gives us, for the first time in years, an actual real chance going into a new season.
I think people have still got the doubts about Kuhl. They've got the doubts about lots of things, but the lad needs a chance, doesn't he? Kuhl needs a chance. The players that are in the squad need the good players win. It's no good for them to be chopping and changing and moving every year either, is it? So it's in everyone's best interest. So I'm really hoping quite early in January that some of this stuff is announced and we can start feeling a bit more settled.
It'd feel a lot more stable, wouldn't it? I mean, if you were going into August going, right, well, we finished between 12th and 16th in League Two, and you've got your better players signed up. Harry Kuhl's still there, the first manager to see a season out in God knows how long, since presumably going back to Johnson, maybe. And then to galvanise then and go again, along with things off the field staying away, as in there's no winding up petitions, etc., etc. If you can get to August and do that, then you've got something to build on. You see a bit of stability there, and you can move forward with that. And I think people would be on board with that. I think I'd go along with Gaz really on that. I think January for me has got to be that'd be the main part of the business of keeping your main players like your McElhaney, your Rowe, your Durnleys, and for next season ahead of any potential new signings.
It's going to influence who comes in, isn't it? Obviously, like if we need decent midfielders, and if we're looking to sign them and they're looking at the club and they've got all these great, attacking players, I say great, good quality attacking players playing in front of them, then they're going to say, I fancy playing with them. I can imagine that. That's, offers a lot more. I remember I was listening to the commentary today, and I think it was Mikey who said that Latic were in after one of the Forest Green players this season. And it was like, it's a bit grim when, you're losing out to Forest Green, isn't it, on players. But as it stands, they're a better prospect for League One football than Latics are, aren't they? So that's the way it is. That's how it stands.
Yeah. Sad state of affairs, really, isn't it?
It is.
I like to look at that Adam for Forest Green. He was busy in centre mid.
I think your eyes are doing all right, after your laser eye surgery, because I couldn't see a bleeding thing. I didn't know what was going on. I could just see movement in the mist.
When Bahamboula went for a shit, he wiped his ass. Every time he got the ball, he was all over him. But I just thought they looked really competent. Like I know we were piss poor, weren't we? But every time we played Forest Green, they always looked superior to us.
But they're a club in the ascendancy, aren't they? They're a club that is moving. They've got forward momentum, forward motion. They've come from the lower leagues, and they're they run the club. The club is a better run club than a lot of other clubs around, and that's just the way it is. They're attracting players, they're looking after players, and all this kind of stuff. You can't get a meat pie there. That's going to put Will off, I think, but it's not going to put potential players off, is it?
I had a corn and leek pie there when I went. Yeah.
I was vegetarian for a year. I give it a go, but once the depression got really bad, I started eating meat again.
It's not for me, lads. Not for me.
It wasn't the best, especially. It was kind of edible after a skinful of ale, but
it did its job. A bit soaking up the ale, and that was about it. But yeah,
going back to January and signing players up and a bit of continuity. Depends how you look at it, but a good thing is that Kuhl's on a rolling year contract, so at least we have a bit of continuity with the manager. Whether he's any good or not, I don't know. We'll see. And if he turns out shit, he'll get sacked anyway. But the good thing is that we do have that year added on.
I'm still not a fan of Kuhl. I admittedly, he's turned it round, but I've not warmed to him even in the slightest. If he turns his, gets results for us and gets us somewhere, brilliant. And I'm holding my hands up now and saying, I was wrong, because after them first 7 or 8 games, I wouldn't have said it was hasty giving him a chop, because I just thought it was that poor. So he has turned it round, but I'm really struggling to warm to him.
The one thing that's helping me with that is like some of his post-match comments when he's actually seeing what everyone else is seeing now. Because at the start of the season, he was doing his post-match comments and he was saying that, you know, players were playing well and stuff. But then after, I think it was Harrogate and various other matches where we've not done well, and he's come out and he said, yeah, our passing's shit. You know, obviously not saying shit, but he's saying our passing's not great. And, you know, he's actually being honest about it and not trying to deflect blame or anything or trying to say anything else.
Yeah.
And that's a small step to getting you back on side when they're honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree there.
Loves an argument with the fourth official, doesn't he, Harry Kuehl, as well?
Oh, God.
About virtually every decision going. I think there was one today where first half McElhaney went in with a high foot and nearly took their lad's head off. It was a clear free kick, and Kuehl's arguing the toss.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's a very competitive guy, isn't he? He's a winner. That kind of thing, there's a balance with it. It's annoying. I think, you know, you have to be able to keep it under check to some degree. If you do it too much, it just becomes noise and you don't hear it. You just think, yeah, whatever. But look, I think we're all prepared to give Harry Kuehl a chance, regardless of how we feel about him, because we're desperate for that stability, aren't we? We're desperate for that continuity at the club. And like you said, Gaz, he seems to have done something with the squad that he's got, and there are results away from home, obviously, admittedly not at home. So, yeah, we'll have to see. It's Latics, isn't it? We don't know what shocks are around the corner.
Yeah.
Something.
Or a piss boil behind the scenes is looming, isn't it? Or
There'll be something, won't there, at some point. So, lads, I think we've covered everything now for the first podcast of the new year. Nothing much has changed. We lost Christmas, we drew, and the game got called off because of the bad weather, or abandoned because of the bad weather. So it's all very predictable. Right, lads, I think we'll call it a day. I think we've covered everything now, risk of repeating ourselves. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Wish you all a happy new year, and on to the magic of the FA Cup on Saturday.
Let's have a bit of a better one than last year, shall we?
Last year, what happened last year? Remind me.
I can't remember. The whole year I'm talking about.
Oh, the year. I thought you were talking about the FA
right.
Cup. I was going back to Fulham. I can't remember what happened after Fulham. Everything after Fulham in the FA Cup doesn't exist. But we need a big result. Yeah, no, it's been a very, very weird year, hasn't it? Like in so many ways. Like never. I don't think we've ever been through anything where it literally affects everybody like it has done. It's very unusual where we're all in the same. I mean, here in Ireland, are being affected by the same things that you are there in England. And then
have you got a curfew over there, Matt?
We don't have a curfew. That's Northern Ireland. I think there might be a curfew in Northern Ireland.
Right.
Yeah. But there isn't one here. No, not down.
Just is everything just closed then over there?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, nothing's ever really got going again. It's just now we're in a travel's restricted and all this kind of stuff, and things are closed again, and just all the usual. Yeah. But I mean, supposedly the rates of infection are going up here a lot more since this new strain and everything. It's not as bad as it is in Britain because it's nowhere near as populated. Yeah.
Shit creek without a paddle.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? We don't know. It's all very unstable. And the other thing I was going to say about football, actually, is, you know, we've had the football back, and it is good to have it in these times, isn't it? And there is a chance that we'll lose it again, definitely. And that'll be a kick in the tits, won't it?
I think the kick's coming, I think they're going to change their mind on primary schools within the next week, if not the next day or two. And then I think they're going to knock football on the head for a couple of weeks as well. I think January and February is going to be pretty grim.
I mean,
Happy New Year.
Certainly risk the integrity of the competition, because you've got like Accrington, who've got like 5 games in hand on certain teams in League One, which is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. I think they'll try everything to get the season finished. I think they'll resist everything they can, but it all just depends on.
It'd be interesting to see what they do with the Euros if they do after extend the season.
Tell you what, if the Euros goes ahead, you get your money on a couple of outsiders because anything could happen.
England, they're an outsider, aren't they?
England are the favourites. We're the favourites with the bookies at the moment.
No chance. Well, I mean, again, it looks like if the Euros do go ahead, it'll be behind closed doors, won't it? I can't see there being fans there. So
it's hard to see. Like I was saying to my dad the other day about like, how do you ever get back to normal? And like you rush hour, like your trams and stuff, and then looking around and like seeing 90,000 in Wembley again and 85,000 at Twickenham and stuff. Like, how do you ever see that happening? It seems so far away, doesn't it?
It does seem very far away, yeah. Yeah, as time goes by, it all just seems more and more. There's like, cause people are saying, texting us going, oh, get tickets to New Order at Heaton Park in September. And I'm like,
it's not
September,
happening.
I don't think I'm not going to buy any tickets for anything like that. It just doesn't seem worthwhile at all. It's very unpredictable, isn't it? So we'll see what happens.
I was meant to be at the Euros last year. I'd got me accommodation, flights to Dublin, then to Rome from there. We're all planned out. Got it dead cheap before we qualified. So that's that golden ticket gone. If we do get it on again and we get to go, you're back to paying fortunes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yay! 2021. The Boundary Park Alert System is a Studio 6 production. It's hosted, edited and mixed by me, Matt Dean, and you can contact me on Twitter at DublinOAFC. If you'd like to get in touch with us or contribute to the show, our email is bpalertsystem@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at OAFC Podcast. If you'd like to know more about Push the Boundary, you can visit pushtheboundary.co.uk and follow them on Twitter at PTB_OAFC. The match stats are compiled and presented by Thomas Berry, and you can follow Thomas, spelled Tomos, on Twitter at Thomas Berry. The title music for the show is Delirio by Manchester DJ and producer Starion. You can visit redlaserrecords.bandcamp.com for more info and the latest releases. If you like the show, please do review and subscribe on whichever platform you listen. Thanks for listening.